Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have a small order here from the Ulta Beauty sale, my first order that I placed with a couple of things that I want to try out with you guys today. I initially thought that I would wait as everything kind of trickled in from the sale, but you guys, I am so impatient. I know I'm not going to be able to stay away from these and not open them until everything trickles in. I just can't do that. If there's new makeup sitting in front of me, I am going to be opening it. So I figured we do it in phases, try things out as they come in, and also I'm hoping that won't be as overwhelming for you guys rather than having like a full face of makeup of new products to put on. So this is a look that we'll be coming up with today with a handful of new products that I'll be using along with some old favorites. Hope you guys are excited about it. I'm very happy with this finished look. I'm loving the cheek color and can't wait to show it to you guys. But before we rip into the makeup, special welcome to those of you that are new here at my channel. Happy to have you here. I hope that you enjoy this video today. I hope that you will consider subscribing. Also make sure your notifications are turned on. And with that, I have a full face of makeup to put on today, so let's get into it. All right, let's get started. So this order was pretty small. I only picked up 4 things, but let me just go over them really briefly. I picked up a new shade of the Anastasia Beverly Hills Luminous Foundation, one of my favorites. I also picked up 2 new lipsticks from Juvia's Place. We'll be trying these out today, swatching them. And then I grabbed one of these Undone Water blushes. These are like a cream blush stick. So we're gonna try this one out. I ended up going with the shade Mauve. They're very small. I wasn't sure what the size of these would be like. The size looks a lot like the Milk Lip and Cheek, at least just on like its initial packaging, but very nice and cute. I'm excited to see what the formula of these are like. We'll kind of maybe compare them to some of my other cream blush sticks, maybe the Persona, the Flower Beauty. So before we jump in, let me just curl my lashes. I did just put my sunscreen on about 10 minutes ago. I typically like to curl my lashes like right before I do my makeup. Before we go to the foundation, I do want to add just a little bit of primer. Let's just use my Maybelline 4-in-1. Just gonna give a like decent swipe of this kind of all over. It has a hole in the top of the sponge applicator that you guys know I'm not a fan of, and it's kind of scratches my face when I put it on now. Another reason to complain about the packaging of that. Man, I wish they put that stuff in a squeezy tube. All right, now let's take a peek at the foundation. If you don't know much about this foundation, let me just read you like the list of claims here. Characteristics of this foundation. It says it's vegan, gluten-free, alcohol-free, clinically tested, dermatologist tested, ophthalmologist tested, non-comedogenic, suitable for sensitive skin, long wearing, no flashback. And then over here in this little description, it says it is a medium coverage foundation with a luminous natural finish. I'd say those are very good claims. I have 2 other shades of this foundation. I have 160C and 270C. 160 is way too light and 270 is quite a bit too dark for me. So I was hoping to find something kind of in between those 2. Maybe something I won't have to shade match or combine with something else to get the right shade. Actually looks like this one, but maybe a little bit more like peachy in tone. Oh, we'll see. Let's give it a swatch and see. I kind of like the olive undertone of this one. I typically like my foundations to have a bit more olive or yellow undertone to them because I do have more olive-based skin, even though I am quite light. So really quickly, I want to do just a tiny little swatch comparison of all 3 of these shades so you guys can see how they look swatched compared to each other. So here on this side, we have 160C, which is the lightest shade that I own. Actually, let me turn my lights down just a little bit. Hopefully that lighting's just a little bit better. So that's 160C right there. Then this one is the one I just picked up, 260C. Okay, that's quite a bit darker. I think that's still gonna be a little bit too dark for me on its own. It's too bad. And then 270C. It's right there. So that's kind of how those 3 compare to each other. Gosh, I almost think that 260C looks maybe darker than 270C. I don't know, hard to tell. The undertone of these 2 is different, which kind of surprised me because they both are supposed to be cooler undertones. It does look more kind of peach. I kind of feel like I'm still gonna have to mix this one with this shade right here, and I am a little worried about that undertone. We're gonna give it a try today, but just based on those swatches, this is not going to be a good shade match for me on its own. I know I'm gonna have to mix it with some things to get it to work for me. Not the end of the world for me. I just was hoping to find a better shade. I might have to go back again next time it's on sale and pick up one more bottle. Or perhaps the smarter thing to do would be to actually go into the store and do some swatching, which I don't know why I forget to do that every time I'm in an Ulta store. Okay, so I'm gonna take 1 pump of my 160C, and then I'm gonna combine that with 1 pump of 250C, the new shade I picked up. And we're just gonna give these a little swirl on the back of my hand. That's what they look like combined. Oh, I think this will probably work okay. This was one of those days I really needed to wash my hair this morning and thought to myself, maybe I can get away with 1 more day of a bun. Hopefully it looks okay. It's quite frizzy. I'm just gonna blend this in with my sponge. I think I had mentioned recently that I've kind of been into using a brush again lately. Then I started getting some breakouts on my face, and I wonder if it's because I was using a brush. I don't wash my brushes. I've said this before. I'm not good at washing my brushes. I do wash my sponges very often though. So I wonder if the fact that I've been using the same brush over and over again, not washing it enough, maybe that's what caused a couple breakouts on my skin. I don't know. Could be anything. Who knows? All right. I feel like this is working pretty well. Seems to be a good match. I do love the coverage and finish of this foundation. It is just right for what I like in a foundation. Good medium coverage. It covers a lot, but it's not cakey. It's luminous, but it's not too greasy or glowy. It just has like this nice, very natural, slightly dewy finish. All right, so that was 1 pump of each shade, so 2 pumps of that foundation. Good coverage. I feel like that covered everything I needed it to. Before we move on to concealer, I want to add just a little bit of eye primer. I have my Urban Decay Primer Potion. I believe, I could be mistaken on this, but it's possible this is what is on sale today. Honestly though, not one of my very favorite eyeshadow primers. It's good, but even at half price, I think there's a couple at the drugstore that I think are as good or better. Now let's move on to some concealer. I'm gonna take my Revlon Skin Awaken concealer today. Another one of those squeezy tubes I'm always complaining about. This one has just like a squeeze applicator, so you squeeze it into the sponge. You can't tell how much is coming out. I feel like if you have a clicker, you at least kind of learn that like 3 clicks is how much you need, or 2 clicks or whatever. But this one, it's kind of, you never know. You never know how much you're gonna get. So back to my sponge, I'm just going to blend this in, and that reminds me, I need to remind myself next time I do my next Ulta order to pick up a couple more of those marbled sponges if they still have them, the little sponges. Just grab one for you guys. These are pretty old. I need to replace these. They're starting to get worn out. They're probably not as clean as they used to be, and I find myself not reaching for them as much because they are kind of worn out now, but I love the size of those for concealer. They work so good. Let's add some powder. I'm gonna start off with a little bit of my Pure 4-in-1 powder. And take one little swipe of this. I did actually just hit pan on it, which I don't do that very often with products. Just make sure nothing's settled into my lines up there, and just run this just across my forehead. Then I'm gonna take my RC Mano color powder and add a little bit of this powder just to my smile lines mostly. We are using a cream blush today, but I'm gonna add a little bit just here underneath kind of my cheekbones where my bronzer is gonna go. I think we'll probably do a powder bronzer today. A little bit more up here on my eyelids as well. So why don't we take my e.l.f. Forever Sun-Kissed Powder Bronzer. Take that on my rougher brush, the number 22. Just start tapping that on. It's such a good bronzer. Again, I've been giving because of this blemish, my cream bronzers have been getting a bit of a break lately because I can't really use them. They take off all the coverage of that blemish right there. Let's add my highlighter first, and then we'll try out the cream blush. Take my MAC highlighter in Double Gleam and take that on my Luxie highlighter brush. Now for the cream blush. So this is what it looks like. This is from the brand Undone. This is the water blush in the shade Mauve. So let's have a peek here. Oh boy, interesting. Okay, so here's what it looks like. It looks very, very dark, but again, I have a feeling these are pretty sheer, as the name water blush would imply. So I'm giving these a swatch just to see what texture I'm working with. Ooh. Okay, they're in a stick form, but these feel very much more creamy and almost liquid-like as you're swatching them than even some of my other cream blushes. Much more so than the Persona, even more so than the Flower Beauty ones. I would say, just based on that texture, this feels more like one of my water blushes, like the Juicy Pang water blushes. They're really interesting. Feel very wet and cold as you're swatching them. Okay, pretty shade. Really kind of pink and mauve-y. So we're going to take this on my Alter Ego number 4. I'm just going to really run this into my brush. The swatch. I actually typically like doing this, especially if a blush is more pigmented or you're not quite sure what you're working with or how sheer it is. I like to do this first, get it from my hand rather from the actual product itself. And then just kind of tap this on. Okay, it's pretty sheer. You know what? I'm gonna go actually onto the product itself. It's a lot more sheer than I was initially thinking it would be, especially looking at that. I mean, it looks black inside the tube, but they're very watery feeling, as the name implied. Don't be fooled by the stick. Okay, that's beautiful. I think that's more pink than mauve. Like it has kind of a brightness to it that reminds me a little bit of something more along the lines of like Bubble from Persona. Very, very pretty. Or even Kiss. It's like a mix between Persona's Bubble and Kiss. The color of it, form is very different. It's very, let's see. It's not sticky at all. I mean, it really just kind of like becomes one with your skin. It doesn't feel tacky in any way once it's blended in. Very water-like. Just going around the edges with my sponge. This is quite pigmented, which I'm not opposed to, but sometimes you just need to kind of work with them a little bit more when they're a little bit brighter like that. There we go. That is stunning. Okay, pretty happy with that. I'm more curious now to try a couple more of these maybe. I don't know if I'm gonna do that anytime soon. Gotta be careful this month. I don't wanna go too crazy with the Ulta orders, but we'll see. Maybe I'll pick up one more in my next Ulta order. Let's move into the brows next. I don't have anything new for my brows quite yet. I do have an order coming soon with a couple of brow pencils in it, but for right now, let's just use something I already have. I'm just taking a little bit of my e.l.f. Brow Lift. Gonna run that through my brows. So I was getting ready for church the other day and I just mindlessly kind of rubbed this between my fingers and then I put it on my eyelids. Do you guys ever have moments where you just, I think it's like when I'm really tired, or it's like the same type of moment where I put something that doesn't belong in the fridge inside the fridge. Maybe I'm the only one that does stuff like this, but I do stuff like this more often than I care to admit. Okay, now let's go with my Uoma One and Done Brow Duo. Let's take the shade number 1. So I initially was thinking that this shade I probably wouldn't use very much because it's a little light for me, but I've used it the last couple of days and it works. I mean, I typically prefer my brows a little bit darker than what this makes them, but it's not bad. It's not a bad shade. Makes for a little bit more of a high maintenance eyebrow though, basically using 3 products, which is quite a bit. I'm just gonna set that down really quickly with the brow gel, which is a little light for me. And then I like to go back to my ColourPop spoolie and just really get those in place before they start to dry. Okay, brows are finished. Let's move on to eyeshadow. I don't have a new eyeshadow palette yet from Ulta, so we're just gonna pick out 2 classics. I have the Essence Bronze This Way. I think we're gonna combine it with the Essence Nothing Compares to Nude. I'm sure a lot of you guys own these palettes as well. They're amazing. If you haven't tried these out, if maybe you're ordering something else from the Ulta sale and you're looking to get free shipping, throw one of these into your cart. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of them. I think they're all great. We're gonna start off in the bronze palette with this shade in the top corner right here. A light kind of mid-tone brown. I'm gonna run that through right through my crease, kind of through my outer corner as well. Just kind of doing a C shape here, the outer corner. By the way, this is my reference number 16. Now let's take my reference number 14, just a smaller brush. We're gonna take that same shade and add just a little bit more just to this outer part of my crease. Now I wanna add just a little bit of red to my outer corner. So I'm gonna take that same small brush. We're gonna dip into this shade right here. This is more of like a, I wouldn't even call it a brown. It's just a really muted kind of terracotta red. I'm gonna run a little bit of that just right on top of where I put that dark brown, just to warm it up even more. I'm gonna go back to my reference number 16 and just spend a couple seconds blending those together. And now I wanna take a little smudge brush. Let's take my reference number 2. We're gonna take that red again, and I'm gonna run just a little bit of this right under the outer half of my lower lash line up to meet that outer corner. Again, into the Bronze This Way palette. I promise that we're gonna come into this when we get to my inner lid. Let's take this shade right here. This is kind of a red toned bronze. It's a very soft coppery color. It's kind of like more like a coral, I would say, than a copper. It's really beautiful though. All right, now for the inner part of the lid, I'm gonna take this shade in the Nothing Compares to Nude palette. It's kind of a rose gold. We're gonna pop that on the inner third of the lid, and then we are still gonna brighten things up with this champagne right on the inner corner, but this is gonna overlap what we just put down. So we'll pull it about halfway in. Okay, let's go back to that small number 14 brush. I did wipe the tip off a little bit. I just wanna run this lightly through my crease and kind of this outer corner just to blend out the edge between the matte and the shimmer. Now I want to brighten up that inner corner just a little bit more. So we're going to take this champagne shade with my rougher number 3 brush. And just run that tear duct and pull it in slightly along that like inner lash line there on the top and the bottom. All right, now I'm going to wet that same pinpoint brush, the number 3. Just gonna get the tip of it a little bit wet. And then we're gonna go back to that champagne shade. I wanna use just a tiny bit of this champagne on my lower waterline. Halfway across. All right, now just a little bit of my Wet n Wild Simma Brown Nail Liner. Just a little wing here on the outer corner. Okay, I'm gonna apply a couple coats of mascara. I'm gonna take my Essence Lash Princess today. I'll add that, then we'll come back and finish off with the lips and be all done. All right, eyes are finished. Beautiful, beautiful look. So pretty, so bronzy and smoky. Great palette's a good little combination. I like these two together. I don't think I've ever used these two together before. Let's finish off with the lips. I have 2 new lipsticks here from Juvia's Place. These are the Velvety Matte Lipsticks. I ended up going with the shades 2020 and Libra. I'm gonna open them up and give them a swatch. I'm also gonna swatch these compared to the one other shade from them that I own, which is the shade Chic. I love that shade. It's one of my favorite, more cool tone kind of pink nude shades. Love the Juvia's Place packaging, and this formula is really nice. It's a velvety matte, I mean that's the name of the lipstick, but that's the perfect description. They're velvety and matte, but not drying at all. They feel creamy, but they look more matte to the eye. So here's what the packaging looks like. I'm a sucker for a good ombre. Let's have a look at the shade. So here is the shade Libra. Let me give it a swatch on the back of my hand. Oh boy, that's very, very peachy in tone. Maybe deeper than I'm used to for like a more peach tone nude, but we'll see. Sometimes if you just combine that with something light on the inner lip, you can still, I say you, me, what I like in my nude lips, which is typically something a little lighter in the center. I can still get a darker shade. I mean, I wouldn't say that's dark, but it's darker than what I typically like for a nude lip. Also, here's the shade 2020. Very pretty. Again, maybe a little darker than what I'm used to. Okay, you guys are not gonna believe this. I thought I only owned one of these lipsticks. I own 2, and I own the shade Libra already. How did that get past me? Did I order this at one point and just forget about it and not use it? So what do you know? I have 2 of the same shade now. I have no idea when I ordered that lipstick. So here is the shade Chic. You can see this one is very well used. It doesn't have that same shape in the top. I love this shade. Let me swatch it next to 2020 so you can see how it compares. So there we go. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit more kind of, quite a bit lighter, a little bit more kind of like a purpley mauve tone. I can't decide which of these I should use today. Should we try them both? At least initially, let me pull out 2 other lipsticks that I like to use when something's not quite as light as I like it to be. I have these 2 shades right here. This one is one of the L'Oreal Coloris Shines in the shade Shimmering Peach. It's a really nice light pink. And then the shade Baddest Beige from Maybelline. Don't think they make this one anymore, but I love it for something a little bit more peachy in tone. Let's start with the shade Libra. Darn it, I should have picked up Mademoiselle. I was going back and forth between Libra and Mademoiselle. I did not realize that I already owned that lipstick. Honestly, I'm racking my brain trying to think of when did I order this? Oh well, I'm sure I have a sister that will enjoy it. So let's take the shade Libra. We're just gonna do this right out of the bullet. Not gonna bother with a lip liner right now. So that's a pretty warm nude. It goes well with my eyes, but I don't typically like really warm nudes on me. But if you do like a warmer, kind of more peachy nude that's not too light, this might be a good shade option for you. Let's try lightening it up a little bit with this shade right here. It's from Maybelline, Baddest Beige. So there's what Libra looks like with some Baddest Beige in the center. You could also lighten things up with a little bit of like NYX Creme Brulee. If you wanted, I think it would do something very similar. Very pretty. It goes really well with my eyes, but I'm kind of thrown by the cheek, which is very, very pink, and the eye and the lip. Like I feel like it looks a little bit off, but that might just be me and my compulsion to try and match everything. I do like this shade though. Shame I didn't know I already owned it. So I'm gonna wipe this one off and then we're gonna try the shade 2020, which is gonna be a little bit more pink. All right, so here is the shade 2020. Again, I feel like this one's gonna be a little darker than I typically like, but I'm mostly gonna concentrate this on like the outer rim and press it in with my finger. All right, so there it is on its own. Very warm pink. Typically I often like a little bit more of a cool tone pink, at least lately. But I do kind of like how this color is tying my eyes and cheeks kind of together. Let's try lightening it up a little bit with Shining Peach in the center. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Let's add one more thing. I'm gonna take just a little bit of lip liner. Let's take also from Juvia's Place the shade Lush and run the tiniest bit of this just under the bottom center of my lip. All right, and here is the finished makeup look. What do you guys think of this one? Really happy with the blush. I think it's really pretty. I love the finish of this blush. If you felt like the Flower Beauty or the Persona ones or some of the ones that come in the pots, like the Fenty cream blushes, the Honest Beauty, some of those that have a little bit more of like a tacky feel, this one does not feel that way. This really does kind of become one with your skin. It doesn't feel sticky or wet, but it's also not drying either. Great consistency for those of you that have dry skin but don't like the feel of something more sticky or tacky on your skin. The finish of it really does remind me of the water blushes from Juicy Pang. Really happy with the lip product as well. This is actually a really pretty color. Maybe not on its own. I do like something a little bit lighter or more glossy on the center of the lip, but I'm really happy with the colors overall. How many of you guys have committed the blunder of buying something that you already owned, not knowing that you already owned it? I hope I'm not the only one that has done this. This is my first time that I know of. No, I've actually done it with with some of the hard candy products before. So not my first time. It really doesn't surprise me that much. Knowing my personality and how kind of disorganized I can be at times, and also how large my makeup collection is becoming, that might be the bigger factor here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I should have another video coming up probably within the next week or two, trying out a few more things I'll have trickling in from the Ulta sale going on right now. So I hope you guys will stay tuned for those. Make sure that you are subscribed. But that's gonna do it for today. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope that you are all doing well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you guys are all doing well, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye. Oh, I didn't wave. Bye.